I came to Berlin in October of 1988. I and no one else could have imagined what was about to take place here in the next 12 months. West Berlin was a glittering jewel surrounded by drab, gray East Berlin. It was a monument to capitalism in the midst of East Germany, which was a textbook example of the failure of the Soviet system. But in 1988, the most amazing sight to see in Berlin was still the Wall. Built by the East German government, it completely encircled West Berlin, leaving the city and its citizens isolated, with access to the West only by air. The wall was begun in 1961, and it was soon completely covered with graffiti. Much of the graffiti was true art, beautiful murals that made visual political statements about this travesty. I wrote on the wall myself. I have long since forgotten what I wrote, but I remember being angry and moved at the same time. Checkpoint Charlie was the crossing point into East Berlin. It was like a scene out of a Cold War spy movie. Passing through this point was nerve-wracking. Many in the West said the East Germans did it just for show. The guards were paranoid, and if you photographed them, they would photograph you. In East Berlin, things seemed normal enough. The people were pleasant, many were young. It was not dangerous, it was just sad. In 1963, John Kennedy came to Berlin to show American solidarity.
And therefore, as a free man, I take pride in the word, Ich bin ein Berliner.
I am a Berliner. These words rang out loud and clear. In a little over a year after my trip in 1988, the wall was gone. The Eternal City is one of the world's great centers of art and architecture. It also tells the story of civilization from the ancient Roman Empire to our modern age. Rome has been at the center of everything since the days when Rome ruled the known world. The Spanish Steps still provide a lively spot to sit, have a conversation, and watch the world pass by. Fashionable stores beckon style-conscious shoppers, and the Trevi Fountain in the heart of Rome offers a visual treat. The ancient monuments of Rome range from the Arch of Titus to the Colosseum. This oval ruin has been the design model for stadiums all over the world for 2,000 years. My last trip to Rome was in 2001, but earlier in 1988, I arrived here to film Rome as a part of a travelogue called Great Cities of Europe. I had a contact at the Vatican. It was a woman who handled Vatican publicity, and she was from the unlikely place of Milwaukee. She handed me some filming permits and casually mentioned that the next day there was going to be what she described as a big to-do. It was the beatification ceremony for 6 figures of the Catholic faith on the road to sainthood. She asked me if I wanted to film the event. Of course I said yes, and the next morning I was atop the Bernini columns alongside television networks and film crews from all over the world. I seemed pretty insignificant up there, but I went to work shooting Pope John Paul II and the events that unfolded that morning. And regardless of whatever spiritual beliefs you hold, you couldn't help but be moved by this pageant of the church in the heart of Rome that autumn in 1988.